Nicholas, powers of attorney and the living will. That's a pretty important thing to have. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about that a bit. What are they? Why do people need them? How do you help make them happen?
Well, when it comes to powers of attorney, there's really two. There's the durable, which is the fancy word for legal and financial, and then the healthcare. And these are the legal documents that allow somebody to be a decision maker in case you can't. And there's all sorts of circumstances that might occur that render us incapacitated. And if we're incapacitated, we still have the water bill to pay. If we're incapacitated, we still have all sorts of medical treatments to figure out. And if we don't have our powers of attorney in order, then all of a sudden, we could have bills not getting paid. We can have the medical decisions made contrary to your wishes. And then finally, the living will, not to be confused with the last will and testament. I don't know why they named it so similar, but the living will is essentially the legal document that's declaring whether you want to be resuscitated or do not resuscitate, whether you want to offer anatomical gifts, whether you want to be incubated or do not incubate. It's these sorts of decisions, and it's the formal legal document that makes your wishes known. Usually our clients come to us, and if they are needing these powers of attorney, it's often because they're getting up in age and they're seniors, and heaven forbid something happens, the spouse makes decisions for them, heaven forbid, unavailable, a child. And that way, if something happens, decisions can still get made. And it's by a loved one who knows the intent and wishes of that person. And a lot of times these become even more important if A, there's a lot of assets and you need somebody in charge of on the financial and the legal, again, that's the durable power of attorney. Or B, there's certain medical beliefs. Maybe people want surgeries or don't. They want the pharmaceutical drugs or they don't. They don't care if they're incubated or they do care. And it's in situations like that where if you don't have your wishes clearly documented in a formal legal instrument, making it so, then the medical team can really do what they deem is best, which is usually based on, this is our policy, and if we don't do it, we can have medical malpractice issues, and we have 20 other patients to deal with right now, and so we're just making a decision. And sorry, child, you can't decide for dad. And so all of these issues appear, as opposed to just having the power of attorney when, the daughter says dad doesn't want to get that particular drug. Okay, then we'll respect those wishes.
When I'm choosing a power of attorney, what do I need to keep in mind? Or, are there any pitfalls, I guess, well, whom I choose to do that?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and it boils down to trust. Who's going to be the decision maker for you? And usually we want to think about our spouses, think about our children, siblings, somebody has a very close tie to us, and do our best not to just give powers of attorney to anybody. And then there's some occasions where there's certain times where you want a professional to interact on your behalf, usually financial legal matters, and you can have very specific powers of attorney. So maybe there's an insurance issue and a client needs us as their attorneys to talk to the insurance company. Well, they won't unless we have a power of attorney. So we'll have a very specific scope of the power of attorney, not carte blanche, but we are allowed to talk on your behalf. We're allowed to communicate with the insurance company. We're allowed to do X, Y, Z. And that would be, again, a situation where you might want to consider it.
And, sort of like a will, should I, make sure to check my power of attorney to make sure that person I assigned is still alive? I mean, in other words, that's something you should maybe look at every 5 years?
That's exactly right. And additionally, we have this happen all the time. We want our eldest son to be both our durable and our healthcare power of attorney 5 years later. We now want our daughter to be our healthcare, but our eldest son can be durable 5 years later. Actually, our youngest son is the best one for all. Whatever the wishes are, we can make that happen.
Okay, that can change easy enough.
Very easy to change.
Okay.